But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Arthur, Wandek, Neil, Len, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Let's get it on. Hey.
Good evening. Good to be here as always.
It's good to have you all. Welcome, welcome. We were discussing just before we started in the pre-show, or more specifically, Refracted Curvature and Neil were specifically discussing how anti-globism leaves a so-called flat earther sounding like they're promoting the globe as they go through heliocentric rhetoric. Now, I've been punting the similar idea that anti-glober is there specifically so that the entire discussion can stay fixed firmly on globe earth rhetoric or the debunking thereof. If you're telling somebody as a so-called flat earther where earth curve shouldn't be, you're still talking about earth curve. That's your raison d'etre if you're a, in my opinion, anti-glober, so-called flat earther. Now, in more recent times, we've been talking very specifically about how flat Earth is measured in all instances and without exception. And with that in mind, I think it was Len on Thursday of last week suggested that we cover an older, that's to say 8 years in the making, or 8 years.
Wandek.
Was it Wandek? Wandek suggested that we cover an 8-year-old Neil deGrasse Tyson video, Star Talk, with the other black guy he hangs around with. I can't remember his name. We'll get to that. But anyway, those two chaps were making a video 8 years ago. The idea being today, we'll go through that and see where specifically they utilise flat Earth measurements. We also took bets on where precisely that measurement will come into effect verbally. That is to say, how long before they use a flat Earth prerequisite. I guessed a minute, Neil guessed 3 minutes, Refracted Curvature guessed 30 seconds, Len guessed 45, Arthur said 55 or 105, depending. So we've got a few bets on where we'll get this flat Earth prerequisite out of Tyson and the other black guy whose, like I say, name eludes me. Can anyone remember what the other guy who's hanging around is called? Is it Chuck?
Is it Chuck, I think, yeah.
Could be Chuck.
Moron?
I don't know about moron. He seems like a perfectly amiable guy. I got to say this, both of them do. I mean, over the years, I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Obviously, he is a heliocentric priest, so he's in direct contradiction of what we talk about here, or have talked about when we've been anti-globers. So he's like the antithesis of what we're trying to take apart when he puts the rhetoric, at least for the most part, in the truest sense of the heliocentric word, as a heliocentric priest. So he's often utilised to stack up against anti-flat earthers who brace against flat earthers in name only, who are putting across an anti-globe rhetoric, because Tyson will actually toe the heliocentric line when it comes to having the correct rhetoric regurgitated to his audience, where our opponents, that's your Craigs, your Fight the Flat Earths, your Simon Dans, your Dave Farinas, those kind of guys, will stand in opposition to globe rhetoric if it means they can deny what a flat earther has put across. So the anti-flat earthers, as they got labelled, would often be in contradiction with Neil deGrasse Tyson. But ultimately speaking, he's a lovable guy. He's like what's the guy with the waistcoat in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Is it Carlton? He's like Carlton, right? How can you dislike Carlton? He's just a dweeb. Is it
I
Carlton?
think he's more like Bill Cosby.
More like, I don't know. That's not a fair comparison. Phil Cosby's like a proven rapist. You can't compare him to him. That's completely outrageous.
Yeah, Carlton, the black guy that likes Tom Jones. That checks out.
Yes. He's like a waistcoat wearing dweeb, isn't he? You know, a bit more well-to-do than your average Joe. Speaks with a posh accent, wears a waistcoat. Carlton. I'm thinking of the right guy, right? He's there to contrast the sort of streetwise Will Smith character, isn't he?
That's actually a good comparison. Yes.
I don't know, he reminds me of a bear called Bungle off Over the Rainbow.
You're saying he's a bit camp because Bungle was always a little bit. Am I thinking of the right character? Is Bungle the one?
Zippy and Bundle.
Yeah, they're both kind of camp. Camp in British vernacular just means a bit gay, a bit homosexual in terms of their demeanour. So the hippopotamus and the bear character always talk to each other in kind of a homosexual London slang almost, in the way that they slanted their words. They also did anybody ever see the rainbow innuendo leaked video? Anybody ever seen this?
Is this to do with... Was it a little bit
risque?
sexually orientated?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. So if you Google rainbow innuendo video or rainbow filthy words video, it starts off with, not Bungle, what's the hippo called? Is it George? He's got a banana.
George.
And he goes, 1 skin, 2 skin, 3 skin, and then Jeffrey walks in. Yeah, you get the general idea. It's just built on innuendo. What you been doing there? I've been playing with my balls, Bungle. Oh, have you? Yeah, these hairy balls. And he brings out some tennis balls, and you get the general idea.
It is. I mean, when you watch that, it was a children's program back in, when was it? Like 80s or 70s, 80s,
70s.
Whatever.
I think they did go through to the 80s because I remember them being still produced in my very, very early childhood. But I think it started in the 70s.
But when you watch that now and you think, how did they get away with that? Because it's definitely not like a fluke. They're not, it's not just a coincidence what they're saying and the terminology they're using. It's very, it was pre-planned out, I think, pre-scripted.
Oh, yeah, it was full on done just for the amusement. When I ever read the backstory to it, it was one of those that I could totally understand them doing it. I cut my teeth performing arts. I've worked in theatres and such, and people muck around. Now, if you've got recording equipment and there's nothing going on, the director's not there or whatever, and everyone's just waiting, they all want to make sure that their equipment's working. So the way it was sold in terms of the backstory that I read about that particular video was it was like a technical exercise. In other words, they're all just testing their equipment, making sure their cameras and sound all work. But the cast, that's all 3 puppeteers, one of which is giant bear man called Bungle, George, and then Rod, Jane and Freddie, who are like the side characters that turn up with musical instruments. And Jane and Freddie are talking about Rod's trombone, and it's just a bit of tongue-in-cheek innuendo, double entendre fun. But because it was obviously a kids show, it's that little bit more shocking where the very cute hippopotamus puppet characters talking about his banana skins. It's just that little bit more shocking. But like I say, the story said it was never intended for public consumption. It was just for the amusement of the technical staff and the cast. Anyway, we're talking about this because, in case you've just joined us, we're comparing Neil deGrasse Tyson to Bungle the Bear in Rainbow, which is a British 70s and 80s, preschool kids show, where you're counting, a bit like Sesame Street. So yeah, that's, I don't know if that's a fair comparison. Better comparison than Bill Cosby, that's for damn sure. Anyway, should we get into it? Should we have a little looky?
Yes, I was about to say, can you hit play, please?
Oh, well, thanks, Neil. That's awful kind of you.
Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the Sun are all spheres, but Earth is flat. That's not, something doesn't square.
Something doesn't jive, right?
Okay. Plus, in my latest book, ooh, did I just plug my book?
Wait, your latest book is called Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. What? We just happen to have a copy right here.
No, it just happens to be. I swear we didn't plant the book.
I've got to pause it because otherwise we're making no commentary. That's something else I should disclaim to the audience. So, as opposed to covering every little thing, which I started doing when I was doing the sound check for this specific video in the pre-show, because he was talking about planets being all spherical and a sort of false comparison with the ground that's not being described in terms of measurements, but a comparison with the lights in the sky, which at face value is disingenuous, but that isn't necessarily why we're covering this video today. I'm sure we've probably covered this video once before, but the reason we're covering it is to just see how we differ now in light of the fact that all roads lead to a flat Earth. Now, had he have said orbits, I'd be jumping in going, well, orbits is a flat Earth prerequisite in terms of the angle acquisitions used to derive R values to put Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion into effect mathematically. Therefore, ergo, orbits is a flat Earth proof. But he hasn't got there yet. He's just said, well, all the lights in the sky I presuppose to be spherical and the ground's flat. How does that make sense? It's like if you're walking through the forest, do you suddenly look around you and go, well, I'm a tree. Everything around me is a tree. You're like, just because you can see lights in the sky isn't necessarily cause to suggest that you are one of the lights. But that's essentially what he's done in his little false comparison. But as I say, that's probably more than we need to be covering because we're just looking to see how we would differ from previous reactions, if you will.
I have an entire chapter
Nathan.
titled...
Yes.
No, go ahead.
On Being Round. Oh. And it's an exploration of how all the laws of physics and the account...
Should I even do it? Laws of physics. No. There's laws of nature and there's physics. Physics is the study of the physical and natural world exclusively governed by science and the scientific method. Physics, science, they are one and the same thing. It's the study of cause and effect, natural phenomena in nature that you want to know the cause of. Laws are completely different. They're just descriptions of that which occurs always. So there's laws of nature and there's science. Physics is the science bit, the study of the physical and natural world, not laws of physics. This is a mishmash used to grease the skids. If you can make people think that physics is about arbitrarily describing things that occur always, then you can take a description of something and assume that it's scientifically valid. It's not. A law of nature is just a description of that which occurs always. A scientific endeavour would lead you with proof of the cause of an effect that you've observed in nature. They're very different things.
Counting of energy as processes unfold in the universe, how that conspire to make things round.
So it favors the sphere.
Favors a sphere, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's a straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. So in terms of the arrow of time, that's entropy, it describes things spreading out, dispersing, osmosis, entropy, right? When you're describing that process and you juxtapose it with what he's just described, how things come together into a more ordered state to form spheres, that is a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Heliocentrism pisses in the face of natural law. No, things move towards decay. You're not getting younger, you're decaying. That's what the arrow of time is. When you fart, the gas spreads out throughout all the gaps in the air that surrounds the formerly concentrated gas as it moves towards entropic dispersion. That is a law of nature. It's called entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. What he's just described pisses in the face of that. Things coalescing into... No. No, gases don't do that. They spread out.
Yes.
Right.
And if something's not a sphere, it's a little bit flattened, you can ask what flattened it, and you find out, oh, it's rotating real fast.
Right.
So then it gets a little flattened because of that.
Right.
And so almost everything in the universe is either spheres or slight distortions of a sphere for some other thing that's happening to it. I mean, we can just see how the universe favors.
Really? What about blade of grass, you complete dumbass? You're describing what you call the universe as being lights in the sky, whereas what actually occupies your vision right now, hardly anything's spherical. Look around you. Tell me how many naturally spherical shapes you can see. Put your answers in the comments right now. I want to see collectively, between us, the panel, the Discord server and the audience, how many things that you can observe naturally spherical in your vicinity. And I bet it's very limited. What he's talking about is lights in the night sky that he's already begged the question in this very video of their sphericity. It's like, how are you establishing said sphericity? There are a couple of examples that you can infer it, but that's with telescopes that aren't stereoscopic in terms of their actual vision. Now, there are certain examples of stereoscopic telescopes out there, but they don't all automatically infer that all the lights in the sky are spherical. That's absurd. But he's suggesting that everything in all of existence is spherical based on what he's just said. Complete garbage nonsense waffle.
Yeah, I mean, you would get dragged into that conversation about what the shape is the lights in the sky years ago. It's got nothing to do with the measurement of Earth, like you've already highlighted, Nathan. But you would get tangled up in this conversation because they're dragging you into, well, everything looks like a sphere in the sky, which it doesn't. So therefore, the Earth's a sphere. But that's got nothing to do with how the Earth is measured.
Absolutely not. Go ahead.
I will say that to appeal to shape, you must appeal to Euclidean plane to describe shape. So,
do we give it him? Do we give it him?
Yeah.
I want to see how John explains it. How so, John?
But you just did.
Well, you use straight lines. Use straight lines to describe the sphere within Euclidean geometry. Right? Straight lines define a sphere. But that's why there is no such thing as a curved line. There's only a curve which is created with straight lines in geometry.
Something else that I recently been writing at the end of the book, and one of the things that I draw attention to if you're reading my book when it comes out in the next few days, is that the practical applications for this sort of information is very limited, if existent. That is to say, ask yourself this. When you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson suggesting that all things are spherical, go, okay, let's just take it as read for a second and go, okay, how is that practically useful? Now, by comparison, if you say, okay, we're looking at the lights in the sky, and let's pick a few. Let's pick a few navigation stars and describe how their position above the plane with their coordinates can be derived to give you positional information. That is a practical application of flat Earth measurements of elevation angles of those lights in the sky. Now, those sorts of practically applied descriptions of flat Earth measurements can save your life. Juxtapose that with, they're all spherical, as Tyson says. That we've got a coalescing spherical world that generally will form spinning spheres, or very close to. You go, okay, how's that useful? Think of a single instance where that is put into practical application. And the answer is, it isn't. You know, the same thing can be said of utilisation of the horizon when you're out at sea measuring your position because you've lost your main boat and you're in a dinghy. You know, you're going to die at sea unless you figure out where the hell you are. And then you use the horizon to derive your position by way of angle measurements to the sun or stars, whatever it is you're going to use to make an elevation angle measurement with to plot your position on a flat map. Now, that, again, is a description of a use of lights in the sky and the horizon to derive angle measurements with respect to a planar surface so you don't die. And what do the heliocentrics have by comparison to this? Oh, well, they have the suggestion that boats fall over the horizon. Oh, right, okay, again, let's take that as read. Boats fall over the horizon, you say. Yeah. we derive a mathematical inference that the distance to a geometric horizon is 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth in flat Earth feet. And you're like, okay, so I'll take two flat Earth prerequisites of height and distance and infer that below the surface level, I've taken a differential calculation with a dip measurement when I've measured my altitude off said flat plane to infer that there's a tangent point geometric horizon for boats to fall over below the surface level we just measured flat. Great, I'll take all of that as read. I'll ignore how flat Earth got measured to get there, and I'll say, great, what's the practical application for this claim? Where does this become useful? Beyond brainwashing overgrown 12-year-old gamma and beta cucks who highly value this fart-sniffing boring information and Earth curve calculation, where they also must whistle past the flat Earth measurements they used to infer this geometric tangent point horizon that boats fall over. But where's it practically useful? Where do you actually say, you know what, it's really useful that I infer that these flat Earth measurements I can ignore give us a point below the surface level I just measured flat for my altitude off it in distance in miles? That's really useful for what? The answer is it isn't. There's no practical use for believing that boats fall over a point that you've got to derive from flat Earth measurements. There's no practical use for that. You can find your positional information with respect to a flat plane. That's an Earth that's measured flat and then plotted you and where you are on said flat Earth when it's translated into a chart or a map. That's something that will literally save your life if you're lost. But boats going over the horizon you just used to acquire a plane of reference with doesn't have any practical application. And neither does this crap that they're discussing now about how they infer sphericity through heliocentric endeavours for the lights in the sky to then go on to expand that out into suggestions that all things are spherical. Garbage. Useless. Has no practical application. Its only purpose is to brainwash you into believing that you are on a sphere. That's its only purpose.
Spheres.
So it's nature.
Right.
Basically,
nature.
The universe.
In all fairness to the people who want a flat Earth.
Yes, let's...
Straight on to the people. What's this got to do with people? Measurements of Earth's planar surface when I detail them with the horizon have nothing to do with me as an individual. But we're straight on to the lowest of low brow. Isn't this supposed to be a self-professed scientist? Why are you talking about people, Mr. Science? That's very low brow, isn't it? That's because that's what flat Earth is. It's hijacked geography and turned it into social studies. Like studies of people and how they behave. Like the lowest of low brow garbage. And that's what we're straight on with this so-called scientist. He's not.
Let's be fair to those.
His
And Columbus is there.
phraseology's off, saying that we want a flat Earth.
Is that my desire? Do I desire to establish a plane of reference with the horizon? I mean, you think boats go over it, you dumbass. I mean, these idiots like Tyson and his pal want the horizon to have boats falling over it for no reason at all. I don't know why these idiots want boats to fall over a horizon we use to save our life when we measure Earth flat with it. But they seem to want to infer that that's got something to do with me as a person. I just see these people as idiots. Why would you want boats to fall over horizons, idiot? You want there to be an Earth curve? Well, you'll need a flat Earth measurement in height and distance to get one. I know why you want one, but I'm not assessing you as the individual, you Carlton-looking mofo.
Neil's right, though. It's not like we want a flat Earth. It was here to begin with. We've always had mean sea level, as the baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. We didn't want it. It was just here. And we've utilised it for all other measurements going forward.
Maybe these people don't want sea level. Do you not want mariners to save their life by measuring Earth flat for GP of a star that they're measuring with a flat planar surface acquired with the horizon, Tyson? Do you want the ground to not let them live when lost at sea? Is that what you want? I mean, that seems like a crazy notion. Do you want people to die, Tyson? Is that what you want when you desire a curve that has no practical application, by contrast to a flat planar surface acquired with a horizon that can save your life at sea? You want to abolish this, do you? That seems like a crazy position for a person to take. I mean, it's inconsequential what Tyson the idiot wants when he desires a curving spherical surface that we measure flat to save our lives. Because we do, in fact, measure it flat when we're in a position to require a fix with celestial navigation. Those are just facts. Tyson's words, or let's be honest, his opinions about people, are inconsequential when it comes to actually measuring Earth's surface. Planar. Definitely not spherical, or you die. But it seems like Tyson wants that, which unnerves me. Why a scientist would want a ground that wouldn't afford you the navigation ability to not die. I wonder why he wants that. Scary, really.
There was surely a flat Earth contingent. Okay?
Yes.
Columbus predates the era of experimental check.
There it is, the hijacking. So when I said that he wanted to grease the skids of his just so stories by describing things as being scientific when he's describing a description in law, natural law, just so stories can be inferred to be scientific. And here we are talking about experiments. Absolutely guaranteed not to be, though.
Checking of any idea you might have.
Not a lot of peer-reviewed studies back in the day.
So was it just me, or is it a heavy edit where he talks about science, cuts away, and then we're talking about peer review, and then suddenly we're talking about the lack thereof? I don't really understand. Peer review isn't science, though, is it? So why did you hack out your bullshit that you talked about? Oh, that didn't make the edit. He just needed the stolen valour of scientific empiricism being inferred when he used the word experiment. It's like one of those magic words. Did he say science? Oh, well, all this must be proven then. No, definitely not.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Christopher Columbus predating science? If he was traveling,
Nothing.
What does that have to do with science?
Nothing. He just needed to have that any word. He could have said hypothesis. He could have said theory. He could have said physics. He could have said science. He could have said independent or dependent variable. He could have said hypothesis. He could have said a whole number of magic words that automatically make you, the listener to his show, oh, well, what he's about to say is science, therefore proven. That's all it needs. So what came after him saying, Columbus, blah, 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 science, blah, blah, cut. Doesn't matter. Stolen valor's worked. From now on, everybody hearing this doesn't care there's been a heavy edit. They just hear a science word and assume what he's talking about is genuine.
Back in the day.
Kind of just like,
you just say whatever you felt.
You know what? I believe that elephant poop will cure cancer.
There you go.
That's right. Wrote a paper about it. Like to read it? Here it is. And you're good, right?
Right. So it wasn't until
Shout out
Francis
to
Bacon,
Cleary for the super chat. Says, why does Neil time me out every show? I don't know. You've been timing out Cleary. What's he doing, Neil?
What's he talking about in the chat? I haven't timed anybody on the chat today.
I don't know if he's being sarcastic then. I didn't know that you were. I normally notice whenever somebody gets timed out, and if you were being timed out, I'd notice. But I haven't noticed. And I don't think you have. And I can see your super chat. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
Who is it anyway? What's the name again?
Cleary.
I'll look into it.
And if you just do a little research on Columbus and what equipment he used and tools he used for navigating, he used the Mariner's sextant, which will require sea level for the elevation angle measurement.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of debunking what Tyson said. He's saying that the world is spherical based on looking at lights. I mean, non sequitur fallacy of non sequitur fallacies, but nevertheless, that's what he said so far. It's like, okay, so according to you, the world must be spherical. You've been out to sky vacuums and taken pictures of it in direct violation of Christopher Columbus's chosen methodology for finding his frickin' way home. So do you just deny the aspect of his use of sextants on board his little boat there, Tyson? Just going to deny that story because of your fallacy use when it comes to suggesting that what's in the sky is comparable to what's on the ground? They're little twinkling lights, mate. Meanwhile, Columbus measured Earth flat with a sextant. He utilised sea level, a very well-known concept that is in defiance of your nonsense waffle about everything being spherical. It's flat. It's measured. It's Earth's surface being described for the topographical changes with respect to a planar reference called mean sea level. That's what's being utilised when you measure Earth's surface. This garbage waffle about it being spherical is in complete contradiction to the actual measurements, Dyson. Maybe you just like people dying at sea.
Galileo in the 1600s, where the idea that if you're going to say...
Galileo also used angle acquisitions to the stars to track their movements. He also utilises flat Earth prerequisites of surface level for angle measurements to stars. Why don't you look at these guys and what they actually describe? These people are all measuring Earth flat.
Say something, and you think what you're saying is true.
No. Maybe you could like to prove me wrong. You're telling me that Galileo didn't use elevation angle measurements of the stars? Okay, prove me wrong. Show me where he got a curve angle to any of the lights in the sky, as that's your chosen description of what these people have got to work with. Your inference, they're spheres. Therefore, we're spherical. Really? How do we get elevation angles to them? Like Galileo did. Oh, maybe we could just ignore the fact that he's got to measure angles to stars for any of his systems.
Then no matter how obvious you think it is that it's true, you should still test it.
There's nothing to test. It's just an angle to a star. It's either a straight baseline and a line to the star, so you can call it an angle, or it's not. What's the test? Do you want me to get an angle and put it in front of an exam paper? Is that what you'd like me to do? That seems preposterous. It's just an angle acquisition. Your belief in a ball's based on them. Flat Earth measurements, that is.
Gotcha.
There could be something fooling you in one.
Really? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what two straight lines meeting at a vertex to measure angles to stars are. Maybe the angle's got one over on me. No, please don't anthropomorphise angle acquisition into some sort of Joker trickery. It isn't. It's just an angle off a flat plane. It is pretty simple. And nobody's getting tricked by elevation angles.
One way or another. So if you want to say Earth is flat...
No, I don't say it. I say your ball faith is based on it. That's a fact. Now, prove me wrong by sitting in an exam paper for an elevation angle and see how it gets on, see if it gets a grade. Meanwhile, we'll just understand that two straight lines meeting at a vertex is what is required to develop these light systems that you develop a ball from. They're utilising elevation angle measurements from surface level. Simple.
Exactly, Nathan. That's what I was going to say. If you want to say Earth is flat, maybe people did say that a few years ago, but now we don't just say it. We'll describe how it's measured that way and always has been. That's what we'll be telling you now, pal.
Then, for example, lunar eclipses. What's a lunar...
You there, John?
Oh, yeah. He's got to describe the incident angle of the moon and sun in relation to the surface of Earth. He needs some angles right there for that. You're in trouble, Tyson.
Okay, so how long was the time? Who won the bet? I said 3 minutes.
John had already taken that crown after a minute. I mean, I won because it was pretty much bang on a minute. But in terms of spotting it, John described shape in general. You're going to describe it with respect to three-dimensionality, length, breadth, and depth. Spherical shapes, if you're going to put them into any practical description that relates to the world you actually inhabit, requires a three-dimensional Cartesian system to describe the shape.
That's a reach.
I don't think that's a reach. I wouldn't have... If it wasn't for the fact that I tried to take a polar pattern for a microphone and describe that three-dimensionally, and then John said, that's a flat Earth proof. And I'm like, that's a stretch. And then he directly contrasted how the real-world use of a polar pickup pattern from a mic requires you measure it with respect to a plane, put it into a depictorial version so you can reference it on a piece of paper, so you can translate that three-dimensional design, or measurement, if you will, back into reality so you can apply it to your everyday world and the circumstances that that piece of equipment's used in. Now, that overcomplicated description for a Cartesian plane reference to the real world plane that will be used for that device if you want to describe it in three-dimensional space. Well, describing any shape, not just a complex polar pickup pattern, any shape requires you reference it to the planar surface. How can you describe it in reality unless you've got a plane to contrast it with? If you're going to describe a shape in reality, you need Earth to adhere to the axiomatic principles of a Cartesian plane. So it's not a stretch.
Plus, Nathan, I mean, at some point, I hope he's going to tell us how, this apparently the globe is measured. And I think then I don't think, once he gets on some measurements, because that's the point, isn't it? When we ask a globe believer to supply us with some measurements, within 10 seconds, they'll be talking about flat Earth. Now, at the beginning of this video, he's not really got into measurements. He's just speculating about lights in the sky. So it's been difficult to pin it down, but John did very well to get that early anyway. But if he talks about measurements, it's all over.
Well, I mean, he is into the thick of it now. Now he's talking about eclipses. You can directly translate an eclipse measurement with respect to its angle description.
Yeah, that's different.
Well,
The other one, you're reaching to me. But this one, yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you want to count this one, this is almost at the 3-minute mark. So whoever had 3 minutes or slightly under wins, because this is a direct translatable to a real-world observation that you can suggest you've seen, right? That is to say, if I just say an shape, and you say, well, you can't really count that as a flat Earth proof, it's at this point purely conceptual, even though the translation into real-world hypothetical use would require a plane of reference. This is a direct description of a light in the sky when it's having what they call an eclipse occur. Their description fundamentally relies upon angle acquisition, therefore a flat Earth proof.
Yes, that's what I meant. It was like more obvious.
I don't know if it's more obvious. Most people wouldn't necessarily see the flat Earth angle descriptions when detailing what an eclipse is and realise that that's a planar description of angles, even though it is right obvious to us now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Us.
Most people whistle past this stuff. Most people, us from 3 years ago, where you'd start describing the angle of the eclipse with respect to Earth, and then not even realise or appreciate in any way, shape or form that you need a planar surface to do that. Most people wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, we would not have done that. We would have just started dealing with eclipses, or how you don't know what the moon is, you don't even know if it's a shadow. But now we're dealing with dealing with it head on.
Yeah, the measurements require planar descriptions. Go ahead, Wandek.
I was just saying, yeah. So now we would just, if we was having a conversation, we can directly point out and give examples of how Earth is measured flat. This example he's giving of the eclipse requires a globe Earth. So, I mean, he must have some measurements for that globe Earth, and you can guarantee that when he describes how that supposed globe Earth was measured, he'll be using probably horizontal, level, and elevation angles for his globe.
What makes you think it's globe Earth? Is it because there's an inference that there's one thing crossing in front of the other? Because the description mathematically is as akin to just put it on screen. This. If you're going to describe orbital motion, you're going to describe it from the equatorial plane because it's part and parcel of orbital motion. So you have a bifurcation of a spherical Earth for it to work with the degrees that the glorified surface offers you as a protractor. Yeah? Therefore, all of the descriptions will be with respect to said plane, with you inside a ball. Now, I appreciate that the ball's moving around the sun in their violation of said flat Earth measurements, and then they can describe an occultation, but you still have the exact same description like on screen now. The ball is nothing more than a glorified protractor. You are suggested to be inside it, and the description of the angle for the bifurcated path of the ball to occult requires a planar surface for the angle description. So it's not necessarily accurate to say, well, the description they give of the occultation in an eclipse is purely spherical, because you've got to assume that you can traverse to hell your position to describe it that way. So it's planar. It's very much a planar description.
Eclipse, if your face is the brilliant sun,
Thank you.
and this is Earth.
So if you can see on this diagram, can you see how this line traverses through the center of the ball? Now they've tried to make it less obvious than is depicted on my diagram. Let's show you mine again. Yep. This point in the center would be where the line, the dotted line, comes out. He's just got it at a different angle, right? So it's less obvious that what you're describing in an orbital motion must bifurcate Earth to give you a planar equatorial surface to describe angles with respect to. Be it your angle with respect to the sun's angle with respect to you, your angle with respect to the moon, whatever it is you're describing comes from the center. So in his diagram, he has to, because it's the only way it's mathematically capable of being described, describe this system from in a ball. Now, has he made it clear and obvious that this dotted line is bifurcating the ball Earth? No, he isn't. But that is what's happening. This dotted line gives away the planar surface in the ball that can only be the point of reference to describe orbital motion. So it's right there. It's not like he's hiding it. It's a bit more subtle than maybe you would hope with these dotted lines terminating at the surface. Little bit sneaky. But I assure you, based on my more accurate depiction, less cartoony, as you've just seen, that this is a bifurcation of the sphere Earth to have the ball traverse through on an orbital path. Shout out to Roger Ledwell, who's gifted 1 membership. Really appreciate the support.
And the moon is over here. The sun is always casting Earth's shadow into space. It's always there no matter what.
Right.
Obviously, okay? It's just a shadow.
It's a shadow.
The moon
It's just a shadow
occasionally
shining on blackness.
yeah, a shadow in darkness.
A shadow in darkness.
So the moon occasionally passes through that shadow. And
Good.
You see the shading of the shadow of the Earth, that plane of shadow and light? There's where they're getting their angles from.
and if you see the
This is a planar description.
shape of Earth's shadow on the moon, it is always round. Always round. If Earth were flat,
So now we've got a transposition between a heliocentric world derived from flat plane measurements to give us radial values to scale with Kepler and Huygens, and inserting a penny into that worldview. Now, strictly speaking, that's actually slightly more accurate in terms of where the bifurcation of a surface that gives you an equatorial plane would be. That is to say, does it make any difference if this has a spherical or planar surface to deal with? Well, yes. Both utilised the planar surface inside the ball. But by getting rid of the ball, what, you think that alters the angles that you get? No, their inference, after violating the base principles that they derive radial values to give them orbital motion, is that the world is spherical and does create a shadow. So that's essentially begging the question, after the flat Earth prerequisite measurements have been taken and inferred with angles.
sometimes you get like a flat shadow.
Right.
That's just garbage nonsense waffle. You're working outside of the convention that was derived with flat Earth measurements in the first instance to say the flat Earth doesn't work. It's like, so you're saying that The angle description doesn't come from a plane, it's an angle. Of course it comes from a plane. Does that mean that we've got a flat disk creating a shadow? How do you know it's a shadow? The mathematics violate the base principle, and you're not taking this angle from in hell in your previous version. Your dotted line went through your ball in the same way this diagrammatical example shows the angle coming from within the ball. Well, you're going to tell me that you went to hell to get this angle measurement, Tyson? Did you go to hell to get this angle? You didn't, then your globe fails. Completely. Even if you want to suggest that it works with an angle from a plane. So I'll lean into that. Okay? Yeah. Tyson wins. According to Tyson, we've got a shadow creating an angle. Okay, I'll accept it. Take it as read. The angle came from a flat plane. It's an angle. You tell me I'm wrong. Am I making it up? Do I need to put the angle on trial? Do I need to give the angle an education? It's an angle. It will and can only come from a plane. So for his description of angles, you need a plane to measure.
We've never seen a flat shadow.
Right.
In fact,
It's a straw man, isn't it?
it is a segment
Absolutely.
of a arc of a circle, no matter the
Again.
All shadows are 2D and flat.
orientation of the moon and the sun. And the only thing that makes a perfectly circular shadow
Would be something that's perfectly circular.
perfectly spherical.
Spherical.
Yes.
Well, if it's perfectly spherical, how are you acquiring the angle? You can't get an angle from a curve. It's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Meanwhile, your description comes from here, on the equatorial plane, inside the ball. So when he's describing the arc is of the surface if you see the surface as though it's a protractor edge, with you inside it. So for this to describe any angles, you need a plane to describe them with.
So the only
I'm
thing
sorry, that's
that
just
makes
not
a
reality, Nathan.
Well, that's his reality. He's just described it.
Yeah, but he's got inside what? You're saying equatorial inside what?
Inside
This
of what?
globular Earth that we don't have?
No, inside a derivation of a acquisition of an R value at 3959 miles that has an inference after conversion that the circles of equal elevation acquired from Polaris can wrap around you in the angle curve of a protractor with you standing inside it. So therefore you've got a planar surface describing angles with a glorified protractor at 3959 miles called a ball Earth with you standing inside it. That's where orbital motion derives from. Inside the ball.
perfect circle shadow every single time is a perfect sphere.
Right.
Say it once more. This is straw man. It's got nothing to do with the acquisition of the angle to describe it mathematically. But you're describing the penny versus ball shadow when the acquisition is from a plane inside the ball that you are never going to measure. Meanwhile, you are describing an angle that you can measure from a planar surface, and that's exactly how it must be measured.
Okay? No matter what angle
matter
you
where you're
shine. Whereas a disc, it would only make a perfect circle if you lined it that way.
Right.
And then
you have to look at the face of the disc in order to get the circle.
The circle. If any other angle, you get other shapes.
Right, any other what? Any other angle? Yeah, that's right. You'll need an angle. You won't get that from a curved surface, and you'll have to traverse your position into hell. The fiery, burning pits of a molten iron core you suppose is inside a spherical Earth. Are you getting this angle from inside hell, my friend? No, but you are definitely using angle, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that.
Something of another
The Greeks knew this.
Right.
Did they now? What, when they measured angles to the sun off a plane? Yeah, the Greeks all knew how flat it was. That's how they measured it. Earth's surface was measured flat by the Greeks.
Right.
All the lunar eclipses had...
I made a really good poem about this.
No, not that, but that part of that poem, but that's why that it's in there because when you do research it, you don't get any. It always starts off, well, the Greeks knew the Earth was a globe. Doesn't tell you, it goes on to then describe how they measured it flat, but that's the first thing you're shown or you read. Well, the Greeks just knew. And that's why it was put in the poem. And it's just ironic how he's just said it as well.
Well, some people like to imagine that they're inside a ball moving on an orbital path. I mean, these people are delusional crackpots. Tyson's a moron. He thinks he's inside a ball. I mean, what kind of delusional nonsense these people have to fantasize about to suggest there's sphericity around them? Like when they're on the equatorial plane measuring angles. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? The angle that you need from a plane. Like the Greeks were measuring with their sticks and shadows. How do you say the word for the tool? Is it a nom-nom? Is that how you say it? Just means stick in the ground to acquire a shadow from a flat plane.
They said, oh my gosh, we must be in a round Earth. This is thousands of years.
Before
2,000 years
Columbus.
before Columbus. Exactly. Right. So now if the Earth is round, how big is Earth?
Round? What, round and flat for acquisition of an angle with respect to an equatorial plane? Is it because Tyson secretly knows that it can't be spherical and has to flip-flop between these terms? That's spherical and round. Because you can be round on an equatorial plane acquiring angles, but you can't acquire the angle from a spherical surface. That's impossible. You'd be inside the ball. That's why I believe Tyson's a lying shit. He absolutely knows where he's deceiving people and has to be careful with his phraseology. Because you notice how he's now back to describing it as round. He's used the word spherical multiple times in this discussion. Why would he flip-flop to the word? Oh, because he needs a flat plane. So round is perfectly acceptable. It's a derived radial value that's been hijacked to create the sphericity off a circular area of equal elevation derived from an angle measurement to give you a radial value on a flat plane. That's round. Round and flat for an angle. But Tyson, the slippery little bastard, is deceitful. May you burn in hell. That same core that you think this orbital path is capable of giving you an angle acquisition from, Tyson, may you burn there, you deceitful scumbag. You've just changed your terminology, telling me in no uncertain terms you know you're lying about this shit. You know that you need to acquire the angle from a plane, and it has to be round. What happened to spherical? Oh, we're not spherical anymore because we're talking about angle acquisition from in hell at the core, where this all functions on an orbital path derived mathematically from flat Earth angle measurements. Tyson knows. It's the first time I've spotted it, Tyson. The first time I can look at something you've done and gone, this little lying shit knows where he has to be tricky with the language. Because that's the appropriate time to describe it as round as opposed to spherical. You deceitful shit, Tyson.
Not my first time. I always knew that.
Tyson, you're a deceiver. Yeah? You know where you've got to be tricky with the language. You're an outrage. You're a disgrace of a human being. You know the world's not spherical, don't you, Tyson? Otherwise you wouldn't have changed the word from spherical to round. Where it's not necessary, aren't you supposed to be proving how spherical it is? But we're back to round. That's because we're getting angle acquisitions for this description. So you need it to be flat. So round's acceptable. Yeah? Then you're not lying? You are lying, Tyson. And I'm calling you out on it.
Nathan, before you start, you're 100% correct, because when the gentleman to his left said round earlier in the video, he corrected him, Tyson, and said spherical.
Exactly.
But now he's saying round?
Yeah, because now
Very
they're talking about
tricky.
angles. This is what they're describing. Let's just put it back on screen again. This is why he changed his language. Yeah, and I would expect an astrophysicist to understand implicitly that this is how it functions. He had a diagrammatical example with a dotted line going through his ball to derive a plane capable of angle acquisition. So he knows this is how it works. You're just a scumbag, Tyson. I hope you burn in hell for your deceit. You scumbag.
You might want to check for that. There was a famous experiment conducted by Eratosthenes.
No, this is not not only is this not an experiment, it's a flat Earth measurement.
One experiment, measurement of a flat Earth.
Eratosthenes. And the two cities in the old world, and one of them, they knew that at 12 noon on a particular day of the year.
What's 12 noon? Is that a derivation of a flat Earth angle acquisition of the sun? Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
He's using time, which is a flat Earth prerequisite. If everything's spherical, how are you getting this time conception to give you noon? Oh, you won't. You'll need to measure Earth flat to derive angles to the sun to give you this convention that you're now using on your flat plane that's round for your angles. Notice? No corrections coming? Yeah, Tyson, you're a scumbag.
Here, that the sun was directly overhead, and you can see the bottom.
Overhead is a flat Earth prerequisite. To be overhead, you are perpendicular to a plane of reference. Flat Earth prerequisite number 2. We're only 3 seconds into this description.
Of a well.
Oh, okay.
You don't run around looking at the bottoms of wells.
No.
Because the light doesn't take. It's just no.
Doesn't get down there.
Doesn't get down there.
How can we use this observation to see if Earth...
Well caught. Down is also a flat Earth prerequisite description, perpendicular to a plane of reference. To be down is no different to being up. You are perpendicular to a plane of reference to be down. To describe the well's depth, you need a plane of reference. What plane of reference, you might ask? This one on screen right now. From his own mouth.
Yeah, the bottom of the well also requires.
I was going to say that, John.
Oh,
Bottom 2.
Will be the depth of the horizontal plane of Earth.
That's correct.
Perpendicular. 90 degrees.
Earth's surface is curved. We needed another well.
Hello.
Turns out we can't see the bottom
did he just say the Earth's surface is curved? Maybe you need to have a word with the guy making your little diagram, you dumbass. No, clearly not. That's not what you're showing, you complete clown. Maybe Tyson's just delusional and doesn't know his own cartoons that are getting presented on his own video. So if you're going to say the surface is curving, why isn't it?
Both wells at the same time. What might explain this?
There's nothing to explain. You're measuring down, up, perpendicularity. You're measuring angles. These are flat Earth prerequisites, as per your stupid diagram.
Well, there are two possible explanations. First, we could have a flat Earth with the sun that's small and close by.
Another straw man burning. False comparison with a false dichotomy. So if we get angles from a flat plane, we do. We're only ever going to get angles with respect to a planar surface. What's that? But that's if the sun's local and... No, it makes no difference. You're measuring angles. Who gives a shit what the sun is? You're measuring angles. When you curve the surface, they won't be angles anymore. So if you want to put it into this false dichotomy, okay, well, it's flat then, because you're getting angles from it. Not whether or not the sun's local.
So that the light hits the second well at an angle.
Sorry, you're using angles full stop for both examples. So what, you're going to suggest that if Earth's curving, the angles, they're cool too, right, on a curved surface? No, they won't be.
Or second, we could have a curved Earth with a sun that's big and far away, so that all the light comes in parallel.
But parallel, as in a flat Earth prerequisite description of things running alongside each other. Yeah, you'll need a parallel perpendicularity to be in effect to describe them as parallel. You'll need a flat surface to describe them parallel with. You need the initial axiom of horizontal to have every one of these lines line up alongside each other. That's parallel, perpendicular to a plane of reference. You don't have parallel unless you've got a plane.
Like you just said, though, Nathan, his angle's no longer existent now, is it? He hasn't got any angles to work with looking at that diagram.
No.
But only one well at a time is lit all the way to the bottom. Turns out with just 2 wells, there's enough wiggle room for both explanations to fit our observations.
No, you can't get an angle from a curved surface. Do you not know what an angle is? It's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. If one of the lines is bent, it's not a frickin' angle.
Eratosthenes
to assert a distance to a celestial body is wrong. The celestial body's distance is undefinable. It's infinite. That means in this particular geometry, undefinable. And he's trying to define where it is. He's contradicting what we measure.
only had 2 wells. But what if he had added a third? With a third well, it doesn't matter where the sun is. No flat Earth model can explain the angles of all.
Right, angles? Explain that. If you're measuring angles, what are you, MC Toon? Hello? If you're measuring angles, then you've got a planar surface to get them from. You're saying no model can explain the angles. No curved surface can give you angles.
All 3 shadows. But the spherical model explains it all 3 angles.
You think you're getting angles from curves? You're an idiot. You don't understand what an angle is. It's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. The surface cannot be curved if you're going to use it to measure the angles with.
With ease. And to do this experiment, you got to measure the angles.
Say again?
That's why they like to give explanations for measurements. Measurements are descriptions. They're not explanations, guy.
That's
what
correct.
Are you doing?
That's correct.
You're giving explanation for description? You're insane,
Correct,
Neil.
Greeks had the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Greeks had the angles because they're measuring Earth flat to acquire them. You can't get angles from a curved baseline. Simple.
Okay, in fact, geometry translates to Earth measurement. So one last thing.
So we're measuring Earth then? So curved, it's not an angle if that's the geometry, the Earth measurement. So the Earth curves, no angle then, Tyson. You complete clown. Meanwhile, if it's an Earth measurement of an angle, it cannot be anything other than flat for it to be an angle. It is that simple.
Which should be obvious if you pay attention and think about it. If you send a ship straight to the horizon, eventually it begins to disappear.
Again, I'm going to just say it like I did earlier. Where's this practically applied? Can you give me one example where the inference that a distance to a geometric horizon measured with surface level altitude, that's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, will give you the distance below surface level of a geometric inference of a horizon that's the point of tangency for a ball you created with flat Earth derivations of a radial value acquired with flat Earth measurements of angles to stars like Polaris. Where's this put into practical application? How many lives has this batshit insane nonsense that boats fall over the frickin' horizon been useful to anybody beyond the 12-year-old boys that liars like Tyson are bullshitting? Where's it useful? Now, meanwhile, while you're having a little think about where boats falling over a alleged geometric tangent point horizon derived from flat Earth distance and flat Earth altitude off surface level is actually useful for anything beyond brainwashing idiots, know this. Columbus used a sextant to find his frickin' position by measuring the surface flat with the horizon. It's used to get what's that word? Angles. That's how we navigate. Now, for that, he found his way home so he could know his exact position when he traversed the surface level, with the measurements of surface level giving him the ability to measure elevation, that's from surface, like geometry, like elevation angles, earth measurements that require it flat. Yeah, that means he can find his way home, not die. That's when we measure Earth flat in practical, useful application. Now, back to my original point, where has this shit that boats fall over the horizon you measured Earth flat to reify, where's that useful? Where's that saved any lives? It hasn't. It's not useful for anything other than bullshitting overgrown 12-year-old boys who like rocket ships and sky vacuums. That's what it's useful for. It doesn't have any practical use. Thinking and believing that you can derive a geometric horizon for boats to fall over has no practical use.
Can a ship go straight?
No, John.
To the horizon on a globe?
Nope.
What are you talking about? Straight.
And I think Nathan's right. I mean, he said earlier when he said that people want a flat Earth, Nathan said they want the curve Earth. And this is demonstrated right here. They want that curve. But unfortunately, it just doesn't measure that way. It measures flat.
Okay, I mean, I'll accept it. We'll do it. We've done it in the rest of the show, so I'll do it again. Okay, I take it as read. I accept Neil deGrasse Tyson's premise that we've got a distance, that's a horizontal linear measurement in miles or kilometres, to a geometric tangent point horizon in an orthographic view. And in order to achieve it, we will measure our height off sea level to achieve this. So I can only assume that Tyson, in his reified belief of a physical geometric sphere edge below the surface level we measure, is applicable to the surface level we measure. It's in his maths, labelled surface level. And it has to be flat, or the derivation of a dip angle, that's depression angle measurement, to his reified tangent point horizon can't be derived without parallel eye level. So Tyson must understand this. He's inferring the mathematics of sphericity for a never practically applied to anything claim that boats fall over a horizon. Hashtag shit shrinks, by the way. Stuff gets smaller into the distance. It's called perspective. But we'll just not worry about that. We'll focus on the mathematics Tyson now requires to make this claim. That requires unequivocally a flat Earth measurement from sea level for height. 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off sea level. It's required, so Tyson knows Earth's measured flat. He needs it to be measured flat so he can get his height off sea level for his bullshit maths that has no practical use in real world. But boats falling over a horizon. Like anybody's going to find a useful application for this shit that needs Earth to be measured flat to infer.
Until it's no longer visible beyond your horizon.
Right.
And you should ask yourself, what kind of surface would produce that result?
I don't know. Or ask yourself, how do we measure distances along the surface? We measure it in miles. They're horizontal and linear distance measurements, like on the scales on the flat maps that are measured by surveyors with respect to sea level. Like the topographical changes can be ignored. They're also measured for their altitude. That's height perpendicular to a plane, or depth for valleys perpendicular to a plane also. Reference to the master of all horizontal planes of reference. That's mean sea level. The same one you'll need for your height if you're going to infer that there's a distance to geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat plane. So Tyson knows it's flat, unless he's too stupid to understand this mathematics. And if he's not too stupid to understand his own mathematics, he'll understand implicitly that height is perpendicular to sea level. It's labelled in his own maths he's using to infer this useless shit.
Nathan, you hit it right in the head. He's asking the guy, ask yourself, when he should be saying, what do the measurements dictate? Not ask yourself, how does it measure?
Yeah, rather than what surface could give us this. Oh, really? What surface could give us this? Well, in your maths, it says surface level. It's one of the labels. So when you say what surface could give us this maths, as opposed to what some random dickhead who doesn't know the slightest thing to bounce off thinks, I would rather just infer the measurements that you will absolutely require hold true for your claim to be true. It can't be. It violates the axiomatic principle of surface level measurement to give you a height to suggest there's a geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of your measured height off a flat Earth. You'll still require a height off a flat Earth. You'll still require to infer that there's a distance that will be measured with respect to the surface level, horizontal and linear. That's miles or kilometres. The tools that you will apply to your claim, Tyson, they require you accept how flat Earth can only be measured for your claim. To summarise, Tyson requires a flat Earth measurement to magically infer this shit that violates its own base principle measurements of surface level, eye level, and altitude.
In defense of Tyson, it is heliocentric rhetoric that you measure a localized plane of reference. So he's within his rhetoric. I don't know if he's technically lying. He's just wrong.
If it's
the ocean has a ramp. It's like a parking lot. The ocean has a ramp.
It's an elevator.
It's an elevator. You get to a certain point, and they're just like going down.
Down is a description that would require a flat plane, sir. You're talking about perpendicular to a plane when you describe a vector in a downward orientation. Down's a flat Earth prerequisite. Like up. Like the slope, when you say the ground curves, yeah, we've got surveyors for that. How curved a surface can be, that's a hill, is measurable. I wonder how they measure it. They measure it from sea level. It's called rise over run. The run is the horizontal linear mile measurement, and the rise is the deviation from the horizontal. That's how you measure a slope if you're surveying the land. So we can measure these things, you pair of dumbasses. It's the same prerequisite horizontal sea level that you'll need for your Earth curve inference that uses surface level to give you a height to punch into your mathematics. That infers there's a deviation from surface level, also labelled in your maths, when describing a depression angle from eye level, perpendicular to a plane and parallel with surface level. It's all labelled in their own maths how flat Earth must be measured. And if we're going to describe deviations of the ground allegedly sloping away from that, we can survey it with respect to sea level. That's how we survey.
Seafarers knew this.
Right.
And
did they? Did Columbus knew it when he measured elevation angles with a sextant? Did he know that the ground was curving away from him when he used it to acquire angles so he could find his way home, Tyson? You sound like an idiot. You sound like you haven't actually studied what Columbus did, or how he navigated, or the tools he used to navigate. You're an idiot. You seem to think that in violation of a surface level measurement that you punch into your maths, the surface level you require, labelled on your maths, means the ground curves. What a crackpot idiot! Are you insane, Tyson? Were you dropped on your head? Or are you just a deceitful little shit?
so, however flat they would have imagined the Earth to be.
We're not imagining Jack, Dumbo. You think we're imagining 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height. That's a measurement, Tyson. Are you imagining that value that you punched into your calculator wasn't from sea level? Why would you violate your own necessity to measure Earth flat for altitude and then infer distance in a horizontal linear mile or kilometre measurement? Why would you violate it? Why would you suggest it's down to an inference of anything about the ground when you're measuring it flat, man?
I think there, Nathan, like you said before, he's doing a bit of word salad. He's using the word imagine. What he really means is that's what they was utilising it as flat. They knew that, he knows that, but it's just through the word. They had to just imagine it was flat to navigate these seabearers. You know, that's what he's doing again.
Yeah, in his mind, there's some sort of imagination land where they don't measure the surface. I mean, only 30 seconds ago, this was about geometry. What Earth measurement? I know it's about imagination now.
Also, if I just tell you, Chuck, walk due east, okay?
Right.
And
due east? Oh, well, what I'll need to do to acquire due east is to take this compass and level it. Then I can say, that's east. That's a two-dimensional directionality. So you're going to now lean into this two-dimensional directionality system derived from compasses and infer sphericity from it? Are you nuts, Tyson? Are you literally bonkers? Or what?
Don't ever stop.
Just saying that one of the reasons we've covered this is because this is 8 years old, and maybe 8 years ago, you're just firing bullets now on this particular topic since the Eratosthenes. Every other word you're just pulling apart, and we went years with not doing that, didn't we? We missed it. We're not missing it now.
Right.
I just turn around my chair and face this way, and eventually you're going to come back.
Right. Sorry, as in you just turn around in an orientation that's two-dimensional, and then you'll come back on a, circle? Yeah, that's flat though, isn't it, Tyson? You're talking about two-dimensional directionality. Yeah, that's a flat Earth prerequisite. So you're going to just, whistle past how flat directions are when you're inferring sphericity? No, you'll need flat directions, and they're flat. So that's it, game over, end of discussion. If you're going to infer anything from this, it's that we've got two-dimensional directionality from a leveled compass.
Right, and you'll probably be about 150 years old, because I am no Forrest Gump. That is how long it would take me to run the Earth.
For me, the fact that there's a rise of flat earthers is...
A rise, metaphorical otherwise, is a vector perpendicular to a plane of reference. To rise, you're going in an upward direction. That's perpendicular to a plane.
Evidence of two things.
Okay. One.
That you can ad hom people.
We live in a country that protects free speech.
All right. I think, because I'm protected, I'm going to call Neil deGrasse Tyson a complete clown. That's free speech protection. I mean, it doesn't alter that he's got flat Earth prerequisites like directionality, height off sea level, horizontal linear distance measurement, surface level, eye level, parallel, perpendicular. All of these flat Earth axioms that he's already linked into to infer that he's got sphericity in violation of every single geometric measurement, like Earth measurement. You can't have curves giving you angles in wells. You can't have an orbital motion where you're in the centre of hell. That's not me needing to be protected by any free speech laws. That's you, a crackpot, using flat Earth measurements and then going to stereotyping fallacies in conclusion. That's what you're doing. Scummy.
That's actually kind of awesome.
And two, we live in a country with a failed educational system.
What, where people who use flat Earth elevation angles to describe how Columbus navigated suggest that he wasn't getting angles because they were curved? Where people describe elevation angles to the sun or stars and then suggest that because of how far or close the sun is, a curve can give you an angle? Yeah, it's an utter failure on your part to have understood what your maths teacher taught you when he described what a fucking angle was, you complete clown. Yes, there's a failure on the education system. You typify it, you dumbo.
Ooh, that one hurt.
Our system needs to train you not only what to know.
Know this, you stupid idiot. Elevation angles require the surface be flat. That's what you are utilising. Depression angles require that the eye line is parallel with the surface level. That's what you're using in your maths. Flat Earth prerequisites. But you've got the absolute outrageous gall to then stereotype people like we've got a failure in the education system. I was privately educated. Did you go to some shit state school where they taught you how to piss at a particular time of the day after a bell? Is that the education you had, Tyson? How dare you stereotype us after using flat Earth measurements and prerequisites and directionality, perpendicular to a plane, to suggest that we've got a curve? You're a clown. How dare you?
But how to think about information and knowledge.
But have you thought about how angles are acquired, you stupid crackpot?
And evidence. If we don't have that kind of training, you'd run around believe anything.
What, like believe that you can acquire an angle from a curved surface? That kind of believing anything stupid nonsense that you are utilising. Believing that you can describe an angle acquisition for an eclipse from inside the ball? Is that what you think, you stupid man?
Anything. And if you're interested in learning more about the Earth, the Sun, and how the fact that we're hurling through space.
No, we're not hurling through anything. To describe orbital motion requires you derive a radial value for your ball to bifurcate on an orbital path. You require we infer that Venus has the same radial value as Earth. You require that radial value is derived from flat Earth angle acquisition from a flat planar surface. You require that the distance to a geometric horizon you've inferred boats fall over without any practical application requires surface level altitude measurements perpendicular to sea level. You require eye level be parallel with surface level so you can acquire a dip angle measurement to said tangent point in orthographic view in your own mathematics that's got it labelled as surface level. Level, you dumbass. So you want to infer that you've got orbital motion? No, you'll need a flat Earth to acquire this bullshit you believe in. So no. What you can do is believe clowns, idiots, who haven't been through a decent education and don't know how an angle works. That'd be Tyson.
What is it, 17,000 miles per hour? Is that what we're going?
Wow, man, he keeps firing them off. I can't keep up. The space he appealed to is length, width, and height. That's a planar description. When you say space, try to say outer space, you're confusing out with up. And so it's an oxymoron. There's only space in the plane we observe it with. So he appealed to space, and then he just said a speed that requires a linear distance.
Yeah, miles per hour is a flat Earth prerequisite also.
Did you just pull that number out of
I did. You know where I pulled it from. So you should consider all of this and consider checking out Brilliant, whether you are at a 19th prime number. If you like what you see and you want to watch more videos from Star Talk, hit the subscribe bar and click the little button that gets you notifications every time that we put up a video. And don't forget to like and comment below with a topic of your own that you've been dying to get to the bottom of. All right.
I mean, I'll just put it out there. Why would you guys stereotype an entire community based on your misapprehension about how angles are acquired from surface level? That's a question for you. Why would you do that? Why would you strawman a measurement into being about how a community believes something when you believe in a violation of your own measurements? That's surface level, eye level, perpendicular altitude. Why is it that you believe you can violate your own measurements? That seems really, really stupid. I would describe that as a lack of education on your part, like a failure in the people who educated you, like a failure in every teacher that you ever had. Carl Sagan would be turning in his grave, wouldn't he, Tyson? He'd look down his nose at you and pity you for being poorly educated when you violate your own axiomatic measurements of surface level, to give you 1.2 times the square root of the observer's measured height off sea level. When you defy how Columbus would have acquired his positional information with elevation, that's from surface, measurements, that's geometry, of angles to the stars that you inferred makes the ground curve? You dumbass. I'm interested why you're so stupid, Tyson. What happened? Poor education? Is it the government's fault?
Isn't it funny, though, watching that now and then pulling that apart? And then he's got the goal, like you just said, Nev, I'm just repeating what you've said, really, to call us, like, uneducated and stupid ad hominem, when what he's just done throughout that entire video was just all absolute nonsense, contradictory nonsense.
I think this time around, whoever picked it out, I think it was you that suggested we cover this video, right, One Deck? There is a lot more flat Earth prerequisites that we definitely wouldn't have noticed if we've covered this previously, which we probably have.
Yeah,
any other comments?
Maybe. I don't...
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah, you may have done. I can't remember covering it. You may have done it long time ago. But one of my points I always point to you guys is when I first got into flat Earth we was being thrown them points back to us by Globers, especially Eratosthenes, and at that time I didn't know how to rebuttal that. I thought, God, they've given me that globe bloody proof again, with them elevation angles and the distances between the cities and the well. You didn't know any of that. And I was thinking, how can I get out of this one? And look at us now. We just pull it apart.
Any other comments?
I was going to say, I've watched some of your earlier debates, like back, I guess, the Isle of Man days. I watched some of them, and there was a lot. Like, if you went back and watched it in your free time, and that's something that, the audience can do, how many times it was just let slip by because nobody had focused on it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Why is that, John? They were looking for curve. That's why.
Absolutely correct. So the way that the book I've just finished summarizes itself towards the end of the chapters is to go through exactly that. So the Isle of Man, which was very early in the story of Flat Earth debate, comes very late in the book for that reason. So it's pointing out all of the things that we whistled past, with the final story being about my very first interview with Robin Poe, where she's describing how out in Ferrari, Italy, she's trying to get relay stations to connect at 25 miles. But because of the altitude of the mountain range, it obscured her view for the relays. So she points her transceiver at the original source over 100 miles away and gets a perfect signal. Now, in her description to me, she's delighted because there's no Earth curve in the way at 100 plus miles. On reflection, 10 years down the road, you go, so you've got 100 miles, that's a flat Earth horizontal linear distance measurement. So you've got 25 miles between the relays, that's a horizontal linear distance measurement. You've got the altitude that you're up with respect to the mountain range that's in the way of the relay. That's a perpendicular altitude measurement from sea level. So before you've described any of the actual functional usefulness of the relay connection and how there wasn't an Earth curve derived from a measurement of surface level at 1.22 times the square root of your observer's height in feet, means that there is an Earth curve in the way, whistling past every single flat Earth prerequisite that there is. With Isle of Man, we whistled past the measurements that we got in physical reality with tape measures, how their altitude to describe them in any way functional required you accept, before you did anything, that the height was perpendicular to a plane of reference at sea level, that the distance to the Isle of Man was 30 miles, measured horizontal and linear, as per the scales on Google Earth. You had to whistle past all of it. So like we said at the beginning of the show, you can talk about how Earth's not spherical as a flat earther, assisting the ball Earth paradigm with every discussion. losing the moment you open the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, and start punching in flat Earth values of height and distance without so much as a care or leave. Who cares that it's a flat Earth linear distance in miles? Who cares that we need our altitude off sea level? I wonder if there's any Earth curve in the way. That's what I should be doing as a flat Earther? No. You go, how far do you say this island is away? 30 miles. Earth's flat. What do you mean Earth's flat? Well, if it's 30 miles, that's a horizontal linear distance that we're going to be working with. So if we accept the distance to the Isle of Man is 30 miles, Earth's flat. If you don't accept that we've got a 30-mile horizontal linear measurement, we can't punch the value into the calculator because you don't accept it. Or you do accept that we've got a 30-mile flat linear distance. Why are we punching it into an Earth curve calculator? We've already got the measurements of a flat Earth. 30 miles of them. So why do we need to do anything with it? Oh, we need to use the flat Earth measurements of distance, use our perpendicular height off sea level on a plane of reference that's shared for both the point of observation and the observation in the distance at 30 measured flat miles. Okay, so we just ignore all of those flat measurements, and then we can say whether or not Earth curve got in the way. Yeah, peachy. Now we just go 30 miles is flat, take it or leave it. Oh, you don't want to accept it? Well, then we're not going to be working with anything. Oh, you do want to accept how flat Earth must be for this horizontal linear distance? Then we've got a measured flat Earth with a horizontal linear distance. End of discussion.
Yeah, and Nathan, you gotta give a shout out to those guys that, you know, kept the charade going by saying, you know what, I'll give you a flat Earth. They do.
Oh, shout out to Conspiracy Cats, who essentially conceded how flat Earth must be to describe perspective and the Rayleigh criterion. To quote him, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. Yeah, you're damn right you will. You won't be giving it to me, you'll require it to be measured that way to describe perspective. Or in the case of the two Muppets, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chuck, you'll need a flat Earth horizontal linear altitude measurement perpendicular to sea level. And you'll need to describe a distance to a geometric horizon in linear flat miles or kilometres. You'll have to accept just how flat Earth is to get elevation angles and decry Earth's flatness when describing the story of Christopher Columbus. That's what you'll have to do. Obviously, the moment you've got a flat Earth measurement to utilise or a flat Earth altitude to utilise, you've got a flat Earth measurement that you can't ignore. And you'll need them, all of them. You, numpties watching on the ball side, require Earth be measured flat. Right, any last words before I round out the live show? Oh, with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me up on PayPal, Patreon, all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat Earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat Earth king of rhyme.